Here is the recap of the first season of Foundation. In the distant future, mankind spread across our galaxy and formed an empire ruled by an emperor named Cleon. At one time he realized that he did not want to hand over power to anyone else, so he began to create his own clones. Now 3 of his copies sit on the throne. Brother Dusk, the oldest, who is an advisor, Brother Day, the current emperor himself, and Brother Dawn, the new clone, who is raised to become the new ruler. In time, Dusk will die, Day will take his place, and Dawn will take his. After that they will create the next clone. This continues for many generations and the Empire thrives. However, a scientist named Selden has doubts about the future of humanity. The old man studies psychohistory, which allows him to predict the future based on mathematical calculations. Selden realizes that the Empire will inevitably collapse. After that, the dark times will begin, lasting 1,000 years. Meanwhile, a young girl named Gaal lives on a planet where scientists are persecuted, but she secretly studies mathematics. One day Selden notices her outstanding abilities and invites her to work for him. The girl arrives in the capital of the Empire planet Trantor, where the old man shows her his calculations, which speak of the collapse of mankind. Selden tells her that they will soon be arrested, as the authorities do not want people to doubt the inviolability of the Empire. Soon they do indeed get arrested, and the trio of emperors are interrogated by Selden. He informs them that he has calculated, with the help of psychohistory, the only way to shorten the time of chaos to several hundred years. This requires the creation of a vast library of human knowledge, and he has already gathered a large number of scientists from all fields of science around him. The Emperor realizes that the old man has too much influence and power, so he cannot be executed or the people will revolt. Just then, a terrorist attack occurs in the capital, killing millions of people on the planet. The Emperor believes that the distant star systems of Anacreon and Thespis, which have recently begun to rebel against the Empire, have something to do with it. Brother Day decides not to execute Selden and his followers, but sends them into exile to a distant star system on the planet Terminus, where he allows them to work on a library of human knowledge called the Foundation. Also, Brother Day decides to execute the ambassadors Anacreon and Thespis, after which he orders the bombardment of their home planets from space. 19 years pass after the attack on Trantor, and the Emperor's clones once again change their names in the cycle. At the same time, the oldest one is traditionally disintegrated. Some more time passes, and the infant brother Dawn becomes a teenager. Soon the most influential religious cult in the Empire chooses a new leader, and she begins to interpret the teachings not in favor of Cleon. Roughly speaking, their creed believes that clones have no soul, so the Emperor must be removed. Brother Day realizes that something must be done and goes to the sacred planet of this cult, taking Eto Demerzel with him. This woman is a very advanced robot, almost the only one left of humanity. Only the emperors know about her, and she is sworn to serve their dynasty. However, Demerzel has full artificial intelligence, worships that very cult, and her true goals are unknown to us. Brother Day arrives on a desolate planet, where he tries to convince the top cult leaders of the legitimacy of his power, but he does not succeed, so he ventures on a sacred pilgrimage. Roughly speaking, by walking down a rocky spiral without food or water under the scorching sun, the surviving worshippers can enter sacred waters where the goddess will give them a vision, and the priest can interpret them according to the teachings. If Kellen passes the test, it means he has a soul. Eventually, the Brother Day reaches the sacred waters, but receives no revelation. Therefore, he simply lies about what he actually saw. The sacred cult then admits that he has a soul. Cleon orders his robot to kill the rebellious cult leader. Demerzel carries out the order and informs the Emperor that he knows of his lie. Meanwhile, on Trantor, Brother Dawn falls in love with a servant girl. Soon he tells her that he possesses a certain mutation that distinguishes him from the other clones. If anyone finds out about this, he will be killed and discreetly replaced with another clone, which is grown in parallel with him just in case. Eventually, Brother Dusk guesses that the younger one has the mutation and Dawn escapes from the palace. He arrives at his lover's house, but it turns out that it was all an incredibly long plan by the anti-Imperial group. Years ago, they deliberately damaged the DNA of the original Cleon so that the new generation of clones would receive the mutation. They did this in the hope that some clone would escape from the palace. Then they will replace him with their own man, who looks exactly like the young emperor. And when his time comes, he will become the rightful ruler. Their plan almost succeeds, but suddenly soldiers appear and kill all the conspirators. It turns out that Brother Dusk was aware of the conspiracy and, with the help of Dawn, found the main cell of the rebels. Brother Day wants to spare the young clone, but Dimmersel kills him, as she does not submit to any particular person, but to the entire Cleon dynasty as a whole, which has been threatened. Soon the Brother of the Day discovers that the conspirators have also violated his DNA. This means that Brother Dusk is the last true representative of the dynasty. Day fears that he too will be killed, so he says nothing to anyone. Let's go back in time. Selden and his crew go into exile on the planet Terminus and fly there for 20 years. And the way, Gaal falls in love with Rach, Selden's adopted son, and they begin an affair. We learn that Selden is actually planning something other than simply creating a library of knowledge. He tells his son about it and he kills him. I'll tell you why later. Rach then puts Gaal in an escape pod and catapults her into outer space. Years later, the girl wakes up on an empty spaceship and sees a hologram of Selden, some kind of artificial intelligence, who tells her the whole truth. It turns out the old man didn't originally plan to create a library. His goal was to establish a new empire. According to calculations, the old one will collapse in the near future, and they will have no time to deal with peripheral star systems, such as Terminus. It is there, according to the calculations of psychohistory, that humanity's best minds will create something new. That is the purpose of the founding. However, the old man hints that a second foundation is being built in another part of the galaxy, which will back up the first in case of emergency. Selden himself ordered his son to kill himself so that he would become a legend in the minds of scientists, thus creating something of a cult of science on the foundations. However, Rach disrupted the plan and sent Gaal here in his place, and he was executed for treason. The girl was supposed to lead the first foundation, and his son the second. Gaal soon realizes that she is the problematic variable. She can somehow foresee the future and intuitively joins Selden. Gaal gets into an escape pod and flies to her home planet, but the journey there will take a full 138 years. Let's go back in time again. Selden's followers arrive on Terminus, establish a colony. Unaware of the true purpose of the founding, they begin to work on the library. 35 years later, they discover a certain object not far from the settlement, which they call Vault. If a person approaches it, they are sure to lose consciousness. Only person who manages to approach it is Salver Hardin. She is the guardian of the local town and dates the merchant Hugo, a native of the neighboring star system Thespis. Soon the founding is attacked by ships from the kingdom of Anacreon. As a reminder, Anacreon and Thespis are accused of terrorizing the Empire, and their worlds are almost completely destroyed. The Anacreonians blow up a satellite that served to communicate between Terminus and the rest of the Empire. They then attack the settlement. It turns out they found the long-lost Imperial battleship Invictus and want to use it to take revenge on the Empire, but they don't have the technology or the people to pilot it. That's why they need people from the Foundation. Soon they infiltrate the Invictus, and the heroes realize why it has been missing for a long time. The ship's navigation has been disrupted, and it now jumps at random intervals. Apparently, the ship's crew has been teleported to an unknown part of the galaxy or beyond, where they have starved to death. Eventually, the heroes fix the navigation, which prevents another hyperjump. Meanwhile, Hugo, being from the kingdom of Thespis, summons his men. The heroes move the Invictus to Terminus and descend to the planet. After which Hardin kills the crazy Anacreonian commander. Remember that object called the Vault that you couldn't get close to? It activates and a hologram of Selden emerges from it. Old Man says that from the beginning he planned to unite the Thespians of Anacreon and the Foundation, and that the Emperor will send them to Terminus. This planet has enormous deposits of valuable resources, and they will be able to stealthily develop technology and build a fleet. To prevent the Empire from noticing their development ahead of time, he suggests using Invictus to simulate the explosion of the nearest star. That way it will be unprofitable and dangerous for the Empire to approach that part of the galaxy. Selden then disappears, promising to reappear when the Foundation faces another crisis, which he also predicted. Thespis and Anacreon team up with the Foundation and begin to build a new city. While Invictus is commanded by Hugo, Hardin receives various visions throughout the season and thinks it was Sanctuary doing it. But Selden says it can't be. She soon discovers that she is in fact the daughter of Gaal and Rach and has inherited from her mother the ability to foresee the future. The girl decides to go in search of her mother and flies away from Terminus. Meanwhile, Gaal finally makes it to her home planet. Intuitively, she finds some sort of spaceship underwater and rescues the girl from the hibernation chamber. When she wakes up, she turns out to be Hardin, who has been on this planet in her sleep for many years. The heroine tells Gaal she is her daughter and gives her the device with all of Selden's calculations recorded on it. End of Season 1. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.